The night it all snapped into place, I was sitting at the kitchen table, sipping a lukewarm beer, scrolling through the sports scores on my phone. Nothing unusual until I caught a reflection in the glass sliding door. My wife, Emily, was in the living room, back turned to me, whispering into her phone. Her voice was soft but urgent, a tone she hadn't used with me in years. "Yeah, baby, I'll be there tomorrow. Don't worry, he's clueless." I froze. The beer can felt heavy in my hand, like lead. At first, I thought maybe I'd misheard. Maybe it was her sister, Amanda, or her coworker, Sarah. But no, Emily giggled. A playful, girlish giggle I hadn't heard since we first started dating. She only saved that for someone she wanted to impress. And then the words that gutted me. "You make me feel alive again. With you, it's real. When I'm with Mark, it's like I'm suffocating." Mark, that was me. I couldn't believe how casually she spit out my name, like I was some inconvenience cluttering her schedule. I sat in the shadows, heart pounding like a damn war drum. Every second stretched like a rope tightening around my throat. She leaned against the couch, twirling her hair like some teenage flirt, whispering promises that used to be mine. The thought hit me like a sucker punch. Emily was cheating. It wasn't suspicion anymore. It wasn't paranoia. It was right there in front of me, spilling out of her painted lips, soft enough for her lover, venomous enough to slice me in half. My first instinct was to storm in, rip that phone out of her hand, and demand answers. But something in me said no, not yet. I wanted more than just suspicion and anger. I wanted proof. Cold, undeniable proof that would crush her lies when the time came. So, I stayed still, controlling the rage clawing inside me. I studied her every move, the way her hips swayed as she shifted, the smile stretching across her face, the fake tenderness she used to reserve for me. My Emily, the woman I married 10 years ago, the one who promised loyalty under the church roof, was nothing but a polished actress, rehearsing her deceit in my own house. When she finally hung up, she strutted into the kitchen like nothing happened, phone hidden in her back pocket. Her lipstick was freshly applied, and she smelled of that expensive perfume she only wore on girls' nights. She caught me staring but didn't flinch. "What?" she snapped, pouring herself a glass of wine. "You look like you've seen a ghost." "A ghost?" Damn right. I was staring at the ghost of our marriage. I didn't answer. Couldn't. My throat felt like it was filled with broken glass. She shrugged, smirked, and left the room, leaving behind the faint trail of Chanel and betrayal. That night, I lay awake, staring at the ceiling while she slept soundly beside me. Her breathing was calm, steady, innocent. My chest was on fire. I wanted to shake her awake, scream at her, demand the truth. But no, this wasn't going to be messy guessing games. I needed evidence. I needed the whole picture before I made my move. And so the hunt began. The next day, I started watching her more closely. Every text, every late-night work emergency, every sudden trip to the grocery store. She thought she was slick, but the cracks were showing. Her smiles were brighter when she checked her phone. Her sighs heavier when she spoke to me. Her touch, when it happened at all, was cold, robotic, like brushing against a mannequin. One night, she slipped and left her phone unlocked on the counter. My hands shook as I picked it up, scrolling through her messages. And there it was. His name, Derek. A name I never heard before, but now it was carved into my brain with a hot iron. The messages were enough to make me sick. "Last night was fire. Can't wait for round 2. You taste better every time. Wish I was falling asleep next to you instead of him." My stomach turned. My wife, Emily, the woman who once swore she couldn't live without me, was sneaking around with this clown, pouring passion into words I hadn't seen from her in years. My vision blurred, my fists clenched. But deep down, beneath the burning humiliation, a dark calm settled in. She thought she was the clever one. She thought she could juggle 2 lives, lie through her perfect teeth, and walk away untouched. She had no idea the storm I was about to unleash. The moment I saw those texts between Emily and Derek, something in me split wide open. Rage, humiliation, and disbelief wrestled inside my chest. But the strangest thing was the calm that followed. Like my body decided to freeze me solid so I wouldn't collapse. I put her phone back exactly where she left it, careful not to leave a trace. My hands were trembling, but my mind was crystal clear. I had the proof now, undeniable words written in black and white. She wasn't going to lie her way out of this one. Still, I didn't confront her. Not yet. I wanted the whole picture, every rotten detail. If she was bold enough to text him, maybe she was sloppy in other ways too. So I started watching. Her excuses piled up. Suddenly, she was working late 3 nights a week. Yet, when I called her office one evening, her coworker Tom casually told me Emily had left hours earlier. That was the first dagger. Then came the yoga classes. She'd never cared about yoga in her life. She hated sweating. But now, twice a week, she'd throw on her leggings and vanish for 2 hours. When she returned, her cheeks were flushed, her hair messy. Not the way you come back from stretching in a studio, but from something far more physical. I became a detective in my own marriage, checking gas receipts she carelessly left in the car, digging through credit card statements, a dinner bill from an Italian place across town, 2 entrees, 2 glasses of wine. She told me that night she had been at a networking event. Another lie stacked on the pile. Every new piece of evidence was like adding fuel to a fire that was already burning me alive. But I couldn't stop digging. It was like I needed to hurt myself with the truth just to prove I wasn't crazy. The breaking point came on a Thursday night. She claimed she was meeting Amanda for drinks. I didn't believe a word, so I followed her. My heart was thundering as I trailed her car down the interstate. Headlights dimmed. She exited into the part of town where couples go for date nights, not where girlfriends meet for cocktails. Sure enough, she pulled into the parking lot of a hotel. I parked across the street, gripping the steering wheel until my knuckles turned white. I watched as Derek appeared from the shadows. Tall, smug, with that swagger of a man who thought he had stolen something precious. Emily ran to him like a teenager in love, throwing her arms around his neck. They kissed right there in the open like I didn't exist. That vision branded itself into my skull. My wife, my Emily, pressed against another man, smiling, glowing in ways I hadn't seen in years. It wasn't just betrayal. It was mockery. She wasn't even trying to hide it anymore. I sat in my car, shaking, teeth grinding so hard my jaw ached. Part of me wanted to storm across the street and beat Derek into the pavement. Another part wanted to drag Emily home by her hair and demand answers. But I stayed. I stayed because the rage wasn't ready to explode. Not yet. Instead, I drove home in silence, every mile heavy with fury and sorrow. She thought she was clever. She thought she was untouchable. But I had her now, and the confrontation was coming. The night after I caught Emily at that hotel, I didn't sleep. I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, my fists clenched, listening to her breathe softly beside me like nothing was wrong. I had seen her lips on another man. I had seen her melt into his arms like wax in a flame. And here she was, wrapped in our sheets, wearing her mask of innocence. By sunrise, my decision was made. Enough waiting, enough gathering evidence. I was going to drag the truth out of her, whether she liked it or not. She was in the kitchen making coffee when I walked in. The smell hit me, but instead of comfort, it burned my throat. She turned, fake smile plastered on her face. "Morning, honey. You're up early." That was the last straw. The casual lie of normalcy. "Cut the act, Emily," I snapped. My voice was cold, steady, too steady. "I know everything." Her smile froze. She blinked, tilted her head like a confused child. "What are you talking about?" "You and Derek." I spat his name like poison. "The hotel, the messages, the fake yoga classes. I've seen it all." Her eyes widened, but only for a second. Then, just like that, the actress in her slipped back on stage. She rolled her eyes, laughed nervously, and waved her hand. "Oh, Mark, you're being paranoid again. Derek's just a friend. You always overthink things." That word, paranoid, lit a fuse in me. Gaslighting, that's what it was. She wanted me to doubt my own eyes. My fists trembled at my sides, not because I wanted to hurt her, but because I wanted to shake her awake. "Don't you dare lie to me," I growled. "I followed you, Emily. I saw you with him. Don't stand there and insult my intelligence." For a split second, her mask cracked. Her lips tightened. Her shoulders stiffened. Then she smirked. A cruel, unapologetic smirk. "So what if I did?" she said, voice dripping with venom. "Maybe I needed something you couldn't give me anymore. Maybe I wanted to feel alive again." My chest tightened, like someone had driven a blade between my ribs. "Alive," I repeated. "You needed to sneak behind my back, destroy our marriage, humiliate me, just to feel alive?" She leaned against the counter, sipping her coffee like we were discussing the weather. "Don't be so dramatic. People cheat all the time. It doesn't mean anything." Didn't mean anything? My hands shook so badly I had to grip the table just to steady myself. "You're unbelievable," I whispered. 10 years, Emily. 10 years I gave you. Loyalty, stability, love, and you throw it away for some cheap thrill. Her eyes narrowed. "Don't play the victim, Mark. You were boring. Predictable. Derek makes me feel like a woman again. Something you stopped doing years ago." The words hit harder than a fist. For a moment, I couldn't breathe. But in her arrogance, she revealed everything. No shame, no guilt, no remorse. Just contempt. I straightened my back, the rage cooling into something sharper. "Fine, you've made your choice. But understand this, whatever comes next, you brought it on yourself." She scoffed, rolling her eyes again, as if I were the child here. But deep down I saw it, the flicker of fear in her gaze. She knew this wasn't over. Not by a long shot. When the shouting was over, the silence in the house was deafening. Emily stormed upstairs, slamming the bedroom door so hard the frames on the wall rattled. I sat at the kitchen table, staring at the half-empty coffee mug she'd left behind. Her lipstick stain still marked the rim, red and mocking, like a brand of betrayal. I thought anger would carry me, that I'd be fueled by rage until I figured out my next move. But as the minutes passed, the fury drained, leaving a hollow ache in my chest. I felt like the floor had given way beneath me and I was falling, endlessly, with no ground to hit. 10 years. 10 damn years. Every memory, every laugh, every promise suddenly felt contaminated, tainted by her lies. I thought back to the night I proposed to her. Kneeling in the park under those glowing streetlights, her eyes sparkling with what I thought was love. Now I wondered if she was already pretending back then. I grabbed another beer, cracked it open, and gulped until the bitterness bit my throat. It didn't help. The ache stayed. I couldn't outrun it. I couldn't drink it away. Later, I stumbled into the living room and sat in the dark. The house that once felt like home now felt foreign, hostile. The couch where we'd watched movies together, the photos on the wall of vacations, birthdays, smiles, they all mocked me. I wasn't a husband anymore. I was a fool who hadn't seen the truth staring me in the face. And then came the jealousy, the venomous kind that eats you alive. I couldn't stop picturing her with Derek. The way she smiled at him. The way she whispered into her phone at night. The way she touched him like she used to touch me. My chest tightened until I thought it would burst. I wanted to punch holes in the walls, smash everything she had ever touched. But I didn't. Instead, I broke down. My hands covered my face, my body shaking. Tears slipped out, hot and bitter, and I hated myself for it. I hadn't cried in years, not since my father's funeral. And now here I was, reduced to a broken man by the woman I trusted most. When Emily finally came downstairs hours later, she barely looked at me. She grabbed her purse, muttered something about needing space, and walked out without another word. Her heels clicked against the tiles like hammer blows. I sat there, frozen, watching her leave. Part of me wanted to chase her, beg her to stay, plead for an explanation. But another part, the stronger part, kept me glued to the chair. Why should I beg? Why should I crawl, when she was the one who had shredded our vows into nothing? The loneliness set in quickly. The silence of the house was no longer just silence. It was abandonment. I felt like a ghost haunting my own life. The man I had been, the husband, the partner, the provider, was gone. All that was left was a hollow shell trying to figure out how the hell to survive the wreckage. The days after Emily walked out were a blur. Work didn't matter. Food tasted like dust. Sleep came in jagged pieces, broken by dreams of her laughing in Derek's arms. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw them together, and every time I opened them, I was alone in a house that suddenly felt too big, too empty. But in that void, decisions began to take shape. First came the question, do I try to save this marriage? I thought about it. God help me, I really did. 10 years isn't something you throw away lightly. I pictured sitting her down, demanding counseling, trying to stitch back the fabric she'd ripped apart. Maybe forgiveness could be possible. Maybe people do stupid things and recover. But then I remembered her smirk, the venom in her words when she said I was boring, predictable, less of a man than Derek. That wasn't a slip. That was who she really was when the mask fell away. The second option was darker. Burn everything down. Divorce her. Expose her lies to her friends, her family, everyone who thought she was some perfect suburban wife. Make sure Derek knew exactly what kind of snake he'd wrapped his arms around. The thought of revenge gave me a strange, bitter comfort. I imagined her shocked face in court, stripped of her smugness, forced to watch her perfect little act crumble. But there was a third option lurking in my mind: do nothing. Pretend I didn't know. Keep the house, the marriage, the image. Let her play her games while I pretended life was normal. That's what some men do, right? Bite their tongues, keep their pride, drink away the betrayal until they can't feel anymore. But the thought of living like that made me sick. A slow death, a cage I'd built myself. Each option tore me in a different direction. Stay and forgive, and I'd live with a constant shadow of doubt. Leave and fight, and I'd plunge into chaos, lawyers, bitterness, the wreckage of everything I'd built. Do nothing, and I'd lose myself completely. I started writing things down like a soldier planning strategy. Pros and cons of divorce. What assets we had. The house, the savings, the cars. I knew Emily. She'd fight dirty, twist the narrative, play the victim. I'd need to be prepared, bulletproof. But in the middle of all the practical planning, the emotional storm kept tearing through me. Some nights I wanted her back against all reason. I'd catch myself staring at old photos of us smiling in better days, and I'd feel this desperate urge to believe those people could exist again. Other nights, I wanted her erased. Her clothes burned, her perfume bottles smashed, her memory scrubbed from every corner of my mind. In the end, the truth was simple. A decision had to be made, and soon, because staying in limbo was killing me faster than any betrayal could. Emily thought she was clever, untouchable, but she was about to learn choices have consequences. And this time, she wasn't the one pulling the strings. Once I made up my mind, everything sharpened. The fog of heartbreak thinned, and a cold clarity set in. I wasn't going to forgive. I wasn't going to look the other way. I was going to drag Emily into the light and let her lies burn around her. The first step was finding a lawyer. I walked into that office wearing my Hugo Boss suit, polished shoes, jaw clenched like steel. The attorney, a sharp guy named David Miller, listened without flinching as I unloaded the whole story. The messages, the hotel, the confrontation. He didn't give me pity, just strategy. She'll deny, she'll play the victim, he said flatly. But if you've got evidence, she doesn't stand a chance. We'll make sure she leaves with nothing but her lies. That line lit a fire in me. Emily tried to play her games at first. When she got the divorce papers, she stormed into the house, eyes blazing, throwing accusations like knives. You can't do this to me, Mark. I'll take half of everything. You'll regret it. I sat calmly, sipping my coffee. You've already taken half of everything, Emily. My trust, my peace, my marriage. The rest? You'll have to fight me for it. Her fury only grew. She spun stories to her friends, painting me as some controlling husband, some cold monster who drove her into Derek's arms. For a while, she almost convinced them. Almost. But the truth has a way of clawing its way out. In court, her performance cracked. She showed up dripping with arrogance, ready to play the heartbroken wife. But when David pulled out the receipts, the text messages, the photos, I watched her crumble. Her face went pale, her voice shook, her excuses tangled in her throat. At one point, she tried to turn the tables, sobbing dramatically. He was never there for me. I was lonely, but the judge wasn't buying it. Not with the evidence laid bare. The final blow came when her new man, Derek, didn't even bother showing up to support her. She stood there, exposed and abandoned, her mask ripped away for everyone to see. I sat there, calm as stone, my suit pressed, my expression unreadable. Inside, though, I felt a strange mix of vindication and sorrow. Watching her lose wasn't sweet revenge. It was tragic. This was the woman I once loved, reduced to a liar clawing for scraps. The judge ruled in my favor. Assets protected. No alimony. She left the courtroom with nothing but the hollow echo of her own arrogance. Outside, she caught up to me, mascara streaking down her face. "Mark, please, I made a mistake. We can fix this. I'll change." I looked her dead in the eyes, my voice calm. Final. "No, Emily, you already made your choice. Now live with it." She stood there, trembling, while I walked away, each step lighter than the last. For the first time in months, I felt the weight lifting. She thought she was untouchable. But the truth had stripped her bare. Walking out of that courthouse was like stepping into a new world. For months, I'd been drowning in betrayal, rage, and humiliation. But now, with the papers signed and the judge's gavel echoing in my ears, I felt a strange calm settle over me. Emily was no longer my wife. She was no longer my burden. She was just a bitter memory in high heels. But the aftermath wasn't all clean. Freedom doesn't erase scars. Nights were still the hardest. I'd lie in bed alone, staring at the ceiling, replaying every fight, every kiss, every lie. The silence of the house still felt like a taunt. Sometimes I almost reached for my phone to call her, just out of habit, not love. Then I'd remember her smirk, her venom, and I'd put the phone down like it was on fire. Friends started picking sides. Some couldn't believe Emily had done it. Others admitted they'd seen the cracks long before I had. My buddy Chris dragged me out for beers one night, clapping my back, telling me I dodged a bullet. "She's poison, man," he said. "Better you cut it clean before it killed you." He was right, but hearing it didn't make the wound sting less. What hit me hardest wasn't losing Emily. It was losing the illusion I'd built around her. I realized I had been blind, willfully blind, for years, ignoring the signs, making excuses for her coldness, her distance, pretending things were fine because I was too afraid to admit the truth. That truth burned more than her affair ever could. I had been complicit in my own betrayal, feeding myself lies so I wouldn't have to face hers. But as the weeks passed, something shifted. The rage that had been eating me alive started to cool. The grief softened. I began to breathe again, really breathe. I cleaned out the house, her clothes, her perfume bottles, the framed wedding photos. Every trace of Emily went into boxes and then into the trash. I wasn't going to live in a museum of lies. One Saturday morning, I woke up and realized I didn't think of her first thing. That was new. I brewed coffee, sat on the porch, and listened to the birds. For the first time in months, I felt light. I started running again, something I'd abandoned years ago. Mile after mile, the anger bled out of me, replaced with something sharper. Resolve. I wasn't just moving on from Emily. I was reclaiming myself. Looking back, I saw it all clearly. Her betrayal had wrecked me, yes, but it had also freed me. Freed me from a marriage built on lies, from a woman who never respected me, from the illusion that comfort equals happiness. Emily lost Jules, a husband, and her reputation. I lost my illusions. And in the long run, that was the better trade. If you told me a year ago that my marriage would end in a courtroom, with my wife exposed as a liar and a cheater, I would have laughed in your face. Emily was the woman I built my life around, the one I thought would be with me until the end. But betrayal has a way of tearing illusions apart, leaving you staring at the bones of reality. Looking back, I see things I didn't want to see before. The little lies, the shifts in tone, the way she'd turn away when I reached for her. I ignored them because it was easier to believe in the fantasy. I wanted to believe I was the lucky husband with the perfect wife. But perfect doesn't exist. And pretending it does only blinds you to the cracks spreading beneath your feet. When I caught her, when the truth was undeniable, my world collapsed. But here's the strange thing. Destruction isn't always the end. Sometimes it's the start. Emily thought she was clever. She thought she could humiliate me, break me, replace me. But in the end, she destroyed herself. And me? I walked through the fire and came out stronger. Scarred, yes, but stronger. Men, hear me when I say this. Don't ignore the signs. If your gut tells you something is wrong, listen to it. Don't let sweet words or fake smiles silence that voice. And don't let anyone make you doubt your own eyes. Gaslighting is a weapon, and cheaters wield it well. Stand firm. Demand the truth, and when it shows itself, don't look away. Second, don't beg. Don't crawl. A woman who disrespects you enough to cheat will never respect you if you get on your knees. I almost did in those first days when the shock gutted me. But I'm glad I didn't. Dignity matters more than broken vows. Third, revenge is sweet, but survival is sweeter. Yes, exposing Emily in court gave me satisfaction. Watching her lies crumble was justice. But the real victory wasn't humiliating her. It was walking away with my head high, free from her poison. The real revenge is living well, rebuilding stronger, and refusing to let her betrayal define me. Finally, know your worth. Too many men tie their value to their marriages, to being providers, protectors, husbands. And when betrayal shatters that role, they feel worthless. I felt it too. But here's the truth. You are more than someone else's loyalty. Your worth isn't defined by their lies. It's defined by how you rise after being broken. Emily is gone. Derek will tire of her lies just as I did. And me? I've got my freedom, my pride, and a second chance at life. So if you're reading this, stuck in the same storm I went through, let me tell you this. Betrayal hurts, but it doesn't kill you. It teaches you, forges you, and when you walk away, you'll see you're stronger than you ever thought you could be. And she's just a chapter, not the whole story.